You know, in many countries, we've been going through some pretty good times in recent years. But as economies around the world continue to tighten, many people may end up looking for ways to add to their current incomes, or if the worst happens, to find a way to protect their savings while they're looking for another job. Rideshare is one of those options, mainly because it's really flexible. You can turn it on and off whenever you like. But can you really make a worthwhile return out of ride-sharing? Hi there, I'm Brad Smart. I've been Ubering for about 18 months, enough time to have made plenty of mistakes, and I hope you can benefit from them. What you'll probably want to decide after you've watched this video is whether doing rideshare is even for you. In the meantime, if you could hit the like and subscribe buttons, I'd greatly appreciate it. They tell me it makes all the difference with the YouTube algorithm and gets the video shown to other people like you who have an interest in ride sharing. So we're going to look at how you can make some money driving with Uber and other rideshare services and not end up generously paying out of your own pocket to pick up their passengers. If you think that's an exaggeration, keep watching. It happens all the time, and you don't want to be running at a loss. So while I'll be referring to Uber quite a lot in this video, when I say Uber, you should take that to mean any rideshare operator. The other rideshare services have some variations, but the way they work is pretty much the same. Okay, let's look at a typical situation. You've been working for a company for 10 to 15 years, and you've just left your full-time job. Hopefully you weren't thrown out the door, but I guess that's what's going to happen more and more as times get tougher. So you realize there's not going to be any regular money coming in, and you'd like to keep your savings intact. In other words, keep the wolf from the door until the next full-time gig comes along. The alternative situation is that you may still have a full-time job, but need a little bit of extra cash to meet those unexpected costs that pop up. Whether you're thinking Uber or Didi or Lyft or Bolt, depending on where you happen to live, and you think rideshare might be the solution, well, it may be, depending on what your expectations are. If you're coming into Ubering with the idea that you're going to make a fortune driving around for a couple of hours a day, you're in the wrong business. It doesn't work like that. Rideshare is labor-intensive, and you are the laborer. If you've come from a relatively high-paying job and believe that your time's worth maybe $60 or even $100 an hour, and you want to continue making that sort of brass, then forget it. You're just not going to make that sort of money driving people around, at least for a rideshare operator that's taking a hefty commission out of everything you generate. Now here's my reality check. If you're going to be driving with Uber in most Western countries, you're going to be lucky to be making somewhere between $25 and $35 an hour, or the equivalent in your local currency. Now, there will be times when you might make $50 or $60 an hour for certain hours, but that's not how it's going to average out. From that $25 to $35 an hour, you'll be paying for fuel, insurance, car running costs, including registration, and any state charges that they may decide to levy on you for being a booked hire service vehicle. That generally means paying some form of commercial registration. Sounds a bit depressing, but all's not lost. It's not as bad as it sounds. I found the way you can make a reasonable income from rideshare is to put in many hours behind the wheel, and that's fine if you have nothing else to do. Initially, I was doing nearly 70 to 80 hours a week, but I've scaled that back now as I've discovered how to make myself more productive and more profitable. So here are the secrets of how you can make money Ubering. The first thing you need to do is set a target, a realistic financial target. Work out how much you're going to need each week or each day to get by, and then all you've got to do is get behind the wheel and drive until you reach that financial target. Only good mental discipline will get you there. This means you have to get in the car and drive each day. Well, at least 5 days a week. You have to set yourself a start time, say 7:30 every morning, or 6 o'clock every night, depending on when you want to drive and be on the road. If you have trouble disciplining yourself, pretend you have a boss and they've set that start time for you. If you're going to be a serious player, you can't stop until you pass your goal each day, so you can count that money is in the bank. For example, you want to make $300 a day. In round terms, $1,500 a week. If it takes you 6 hours to reach that $300 target, that's fine. You'll have done pretty well. But if it takes you 9 or 10 hours to hit the same target, you just have to keep plugging away at it. And you never know from day to day how long it's going to take you. Well, rideshare services are a lucky dip. You don't know what jobs you're going to get. Some jobs are great, most are pretty ordinary. So you just have to keep driving job to job and be prepared to go wherever those jobs take you. You can't say, "Oh, I'm only going to take jobs around my local area." Sounds good, but it simply doesn't work like that. Only by achieving your daily financial targets can you be sure that you'll be pulling in a certain amount of income each week. You can't do, say, $150 per day for 3 days a week and then expect to hit $1,500 for the entire week from the remaining days that you're prepared to work. Oh, sure, it can be done, but you're leaving yourself a massive hill to climb. Now, the app that Uber or other rideshare operators provide you with will serve you up jobs throughout the day. Some hours are always going to be better than others, but I can tell you, it's easy to become dependent on being hand-fed by what the app serves up. Now, you have to realize from the outset that Uber is not your friend. Uber and other rideshare operators have a primary business goal. It's an important goal for them because it goes to maintaining their reputation and their cash flow. That goal is simple. It's to get their rideshare passengers picked up and dropped off as quickly as possible so they can be charged. As a driver, the only thing that makes you useful to Uber is if you can pick up their passengers. In a business sense, that's all they really care about. They're in business and you're just a cog in their wheel. Sure, they'll meet all their statutory obligations towards drivers and passengers in each country and each state where they operate. However, there's no master-servant relationship between rideshare operators and their drivers in most countries. If you were an employee, you wouldn't have that freedom. That's the freedom of being self-employed. However, as an Uber driver, you have to hold a different view from Uber, the company. You have to have a self-interested view. Like Uber, you're in business too. You're a small business operator and you're offering your services to Uber or other rideshare operators, and you're offering those services at a time that suits you. That's a real benefit to you. So if Uber's not your friend, what is it? The answer is that Uber, or any other rideshare service, is your client. As I've said, these companies really have only one objective. They want you to pick up their riders or passengers wherever they may be. These are their paying customers. Every time you take a job from the Uber app, of course, they get a clip. That financial goal is pretty important to them. Now, some people say, "Don't you resent Uber taking such a large percentage of each fare?" I say no. They deserve it. After all, they financed the development of the app worldwide, and it's a pretty good app. They built the brand, the first name people think about when you say rideshare is Uber, and they get you your jobs and your passengers. And in my case, they pay my share of revenue into my company account every Tuesday without fail. Because you're not an employee, you have to maintain your own car and meet all its running expenses, including fuel. There's no workers' insurance, no annual leave, no holiday pay, or any benefits that an employee may expect. But with Uber, you're free to work for anybody else, including all the other rideshare services. You have no obligations back to Uber. They don't insure you, they don't run your car, they don't pay for your petrol. That makes you and me subcontractors. Not very different from a carpenter or a plumber or an electrician. You just go out and do jobs for Uber as they need to be done. You can also do your own private jobs if you wish. You should look at that as an additional form of income, and I'll be doing a video on private driving very soon. Private driving can be worth thousands of dollars a month to you if you're well organized and know the basics of how to market yourself. Now, let's say you've turned on your app and a job offer has just popped up. You have approximately 10 seconds to accept it. If you don't, that job will go back into the system and get offered to somebody else. When you first start out with Uber, they'll give you access to an expansive app that tells you many of the details of the job you're about to do. About 2 weeks in, that changes, and you only get access to a restricted app that tells you how far away the pickup is. You should do what experienced drivers do, and that is check out the waybill for the job. You can do this by swiping up on your phone from the map page to reveal the second screen. The waybill has heaps of information on it, but even though it gives you the pickup address, it still doesn't tell you where you're taking the rider. At this point, though, we're really just interested in what the job is worth. If the waybill shows the job's worth $30, for example, that's the total fare to the customer. You don't get all of that. You can roughly estimate that you'll be getting 2/3 of that, or about $20. Simple rule, divide the fare by 3, then double it, and that's the fastest way to keep a rough check on what you're going to be getting for the total job. It doesn't mean that the job is profitable, though. If that pickup is just 5 minutes around the corner, well, you're likely to do pretty well out of that $30 job. However, if Uber's sending you on a job that's 24 minutes away, which is, say, roughly 24 kilometers or 15 miles to the pickup point for that same $20, how will that stack up? Well, take my car. It's an SUV and uses 1 litre of fuel for every 12 kilometres travelled. 8 litres to the 100k, or approximately 30 miles to the gallon. So to do a job that's 24 kilometres away, here in Australia, I'd have to pay out about $4 to $5 for 2 litres of fuel just to get there. And if the job is remote enough for them to be offering me a job 24 minutes away, the chances are I'm going to have to come back empty, meaning I won't be carrying any passengers, and I'll have to pay for another 2 litres of fuel. That's another $4 to $5. I'm sure you can work out roughly how much that would be based on the price of fuel in your country. 4.5 litres is roughly 1 US gallon, and your average SUV would be getting around 30 to 35 miles to the gallon. Now, that scenario could still be profitable, depending on the fare. That's why you need to look at the waybill. If the waybill tells you the job is only a local trip, around $9, then how's that going to work out? Well, from the $9, you know you're only going to be getting about $6. Say it's going to cost you $10 in fuel plus the running costs of your car to do that job. In this example, you'll be paying from your own pocket at least $4 just on fuel for the pleasure of picking up Uber's passenger. Now, most trades or small business people that I know, and as Uber drivers, we're very small business people, but I don't know any who would knowingly do jobs at a loss. When was the last time you had an electrician or a plumber do a job for you below cost? Just doesn't happen. Unfortunately, that's what's expected quite regularly when you're working with Uber and other rideshare operators. The way Uber, as an example, keeps their drivers in line and prepared to take these jobs is to penalise them with statistics based on percentages of cancellations and percentages of job acceptances. Now, apparently, there was a court case in the US, and as a result, Uber can't penalise drivers by restricting their access to future jobs because of their cancellation rates. But they can, and they do, cut their access to the company's rewards programs. The Uber rewards programs, and I'm sure other rideshare operators have similar incentives, are based on the number of trips you complete over a certain period. They have gold, platinum, and diamond categories. Each of the categories offers specific benefits. In Platinum and Diamond, for example, a driver may get 20% off tyres, along with quite a few other benefits. Now, this isn't a bad benefit at all, and it might be worth $300 or so a quarter for a Diamond driver doing lots of miles or kilometres. However, you can get thrown out of these reward programs simply by cancelling more than 3% of jobs that you've already accepted. You have to balance whether that $300 benefit on tyres or any other offerings are worth accepting a series of loss-making trips day after day, week after week. Over the course of, say, 12 weeks, that $300 might just be a drop in the ocean compared to the accumulated losses you're making on individual jobs. Many experienced drivers have no fear in cancelling jobs that don't suit them or fit within their business model. They don't worry about any incentive schemes. By cancelling a job that's 24 minutes away may mean you're back in the market for the next job that comes along, hopefully far closer to your current location. However, the rule I've set for myself on these distant jobs is $1 a minute. If the job's 15 minutes away, to me, it's got to be worth at least $15. But again, you don't know what it's worth until you accept the job and check the waybill. Cancelling jobs that are taking too long to get to and paying too little reward when you finally get there is just like flushing money down the toilet. Now, Uber has a process called surging. If you're new to Uber, surging means the highlighted area on your app, or at least on the map on your app, is experiencing high demand, and this has resulted in an increase in the price the passenger has to pay. Often this is quite significant and can sometimes be many times the normal fare. From the outset, this looks like a great way to make money, but don't chase surges. You could find yourself running all over the place trying to get into a surge zone only to find the surge goes off before you get there. It's a fool's errand to chase surges. However, if you're in a location when a surge is declared and you get a surge fare, then that's great. But it's not going to happen very often. Best and most consistent way to make money is to keep doing the jobs closest to you as they come up. If you're going to be an Uber or other rideshare driver, you need to operate right from the get-go, determined that you're going to make a profit on every job you do. However, like most things in life, there are exceptions to the rule. Once you get some experience in the region or city that you're covering, you might want to make some judgment calls on jobs that, initially, may not appear to be all that profitable. It may be worth taking a job that's not all that profitable that puts you into an area that you think there's probably going to be a lot more work for you than you're getting where you're currently located. That's a sort of loss leader principle, but of course, sometimes taking this risk just doesn't pay off. It's a calculated risk, which as a small business person, you have to take from time to time. Say you get down to that distant area and clearly you're not getting any more work, then you may have to cut your losses and get back to where you started from. That's going to cost you money. That's a marketing expense. It all comes down to this. As a small business person, you really have to be cognizant of how much the job is costing you to do and how much profit you're going to make out of it. You can't afford to do favors for Uber or any other rideshare operator, at least not on a regular basis. Don't worry about cancelling jobs. If an electrician tells you a job's going to cost you $600 and you tell him you've only got 3, what do you think he's going to do? Unless he's a fool, he's going to walk away to protect his business. Same thing as rideshare drivers. Unless there's a strong reason for you to do a particular assignment at a loss, then you should walk away. In other words, cancel the job. It's all about time management and profitability. Now, I know a lot of drivers who cancel 4, 5, 10% because the jobs just don't suit them. They know they're not going to make any money. It's a far smarter way to operate than worrying about the benefits you might lose from some rewards program. However, as an aside, in recent times, Uber has wised up on how to keep their driver partners working and interested. Previously, they've tried the stick approach by dropping drivers from their rewards programs as they exceed the cancellation rate. But now I've noticed in our area, they're offering cash incentives to keep drivers working. I guess this is their carrot approach. On one occasion, Uber was offering drivers $200 extra for 10 completed trips. This is a pretty good incentive, and you shouldn't ignore it if this sort of offer comes up on your app. It keeps drivers interested and prepared to drive for longer periods, and it ensures Uber keeps its passengers happy by getting them picked up. It's a win-win, and I certainly hope they continue with these cash incentives because everybody responds well to cash. You can offer people as many discounted language courses as you like, but nothing beats cash. Many people who come into rideshare driving who still work in or previously worked with big companies or government departments may never have had to worry about whether small jobs will end up being profitable or not. These people can have a hard time adapting to the rideshare model, which really makes you, as a driver, a micro-business. However, once you start thinking about each job's profitability, your Uber or rideshare driving will become far more rewarding for you. And if you're lucky, it'll mean less time on the road to earn your daily target. In future videos, I'd like to talk you through the Uber app, and we'll go through things like how to set up and customize the app to suit you, accepting jobs, checking your daily progress, canceling jobs, and how to call your passenger, some of which are quite tricky and not well explained by the company. A lot of these smaller points, they leave to you to find out for yourself. We'll do that together in the future. Good luck with your rideshare driving and stay profitable. As they say, please smash the like and subscribe buttons as it helps the YouTube algorithm direct others to the video. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.